Hi, thank you for joining me today. I'm Rebecca Mcdonald. I'm the founder and president of Women at Risk International, known as WAR International. We are headquartered in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but we serve in 58 countries of the world, and we deal with over 200 programs. Today, I want to open your eyes and shed a light on a difficult subject and bring hope and healing to this subject. Dr. Martin Luther King said, "Darkness does not drive out darkness, light does." And so my goal is to shed a light on the fastest growing arm of crime. We have a brokenness in our nation and all over the world, and it is stalking our children and our youth and our future. And my goal is to open your eyes and enlist your heart to join us in the battle to set the captives free. I want to begin by taking you on a little video journey of the world of women at risk and risk issues globally and right here in the United States of America.
There is a war raging against women, and time ticks on while rivers of tears run as a hidden gendercide sweeps the globe. At WAR International, we unveil what's hidden and reclaim what's beautiful. Yet our war has victims disguised as statistics. Like the 800,000 people illegally trafficked across borders in the 365 days of our year. Half are children. While 70% of trafficked women end up as sexual slaves, chained to beds of horror. In the United States, human trafficking is the fastest growing organized crime. The FBI estimates that 100,000 to 300,000 children are missing. 300 children are sold in Atlanta, Georgia each month. All around our beautiful creation, newborn babies are purchased for $25. Every 15 seconds, in one city alone, a girl is brutally circumcised, while honor killings and acid attacks are disguised as accidents. Fear strikes women around the world, haunted by domestic violence and rape. In total, every 2 to 4 years, 114 to 200 million women go demographically missing from all manners of risk. At Women at Risk International, we know God sees our suffering and weeps. We're fighting against 14 high-risk issues in many different countries. We give voice to those who have been silenced and a new life to live. One desperate mother sold her 2-week-old daughter into slavery for $200. Action was taken immediately, and this baby was rescued from her captors. Today, she is safe, adopted, and protected by a loving family. This precious baby is a living, breathing example of hope. We have lifted hundreds of at-risk children and orphans who are now protected. Every missing woman has a story. Through WAR International, you have the power to help women be rescued from slavery, redeemed by love, restored to circles of protection, empowered to work with dignity, and unveiled. How will you respond? Perhaps as simple as hosting a war chest jewelry party, offering international gifts handcrafted by rescued and at-risk women. Shopping for these products will help women regain lives of dignity. Together, we will wrap arms of love and whisper worth back into the hearts and lives of millions. You have the power to help us exchange tears of sorrow for tears of joy. Join us in spreading the message of hope. Visit warinternational.org.
I want to begin with my story and telling you how I got involved in such an unlikely career, and then I want to end with your story. What does this have to do with you? Because it does. My story began in the United States of America. Of course, I'm American. I was born in Chicago, and I moved to Grand Rapids, Michigan at the age of 2, where my father finished his surgical residency there. And at the age of 5, we as a family moved to the country of East Pakistan. And I lived there from age 5 until college, all my formative years, in land steeped in traditions of the Taliban. Went to boarding school in West Pakistan. By the time I was 14, we had already been through 2 wars that we stayed there through so that my father could protect the Bangladeshi people. At age 7, we were bombed every night by India, and I didn't know if I'd wake up in the morning or if my parents would wake up in the morning. But at age 14, it was a civil war where Pakistan conducted a genocide against East Pakistan, and we were in a civil war. India came to our defense. War is carnage in any context. And during that time, my 14-year-old girlfriend was attacked. Now, it is not common in Islam for this to happen. Please do not think I'm saying that. But in her particular setting, she was a woman who had no say, no voice, and no opinion allowed. She was raped by her family members and fought back. And to teach her, you don't have a voice, you are a woman, you are bought and sold in a marriage contract, how dare you cry out? They threw acid not in her face, as is usual still to this day, but down her throat to take away her vocal cords forever. And the acid of her suffering burned a hole in my heart. And it set me on a pathway of being the voice of the silence and wrapping arms of love around wounded men, women, and children, and giving them a safe place to rewrite the story of their lives, start over, and just put their life back together again, and be a circle of protection. Today, Women at Risk International's mission is to be a circle of protection and wrap arms of love around the wounded in all manner of risk. We address 14 different risk issues: honor killings, acid attacks, female circumcision, rape, AIDS, domestic violence, but we are most known for our fight against human trafficking because it is the fastest growing arm of crime, and all our product that's made in our safe houses or our preventative programs is anti-trafficking. And so we are most known for our fight against that issue. And today, that's the story that I want to talk to you about and shed a light on. The problem of human trafficking, this century's slavery. It is growing faster than guns and drugs. Imagine something worse than that. It soon will outpace it. You know, when you sell 100 pounds of drugs, there are real consequences to that. But if you sell a 100-pound child over and over and over and over, there's just very few consequences to that. And so, as law enforcement love to say when they do workshops for us, it is the perfect crime because it brings in so much revenue. What is this problem that we now know of as human trafficking? Basically, it's the sale of a person against their will to do something they did not choose to do on their own. You know, when COVID hit, the world came to a screeching halt, but risk did not. In fact, human trafficking has escalated all over the world, 200% in one city in Asia, in one city already. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, our 911 line, 1877 End Slavery, rings off the hook. We are not afraid. We don't run. We don't hide. We embrace risk. We named ourselves after it. When COVID hit, I was hiding a woman in my car who had run for 4 hours barefoot to get away from her traffickers. I was desperately trying to find her a shelter. Today, she's in a wonderful shelter in Michigan and flourishing. During that time, 2 teens went missing, and today they're reunited with their families. A few months ago, I got a call from Ohio and Michigan, 13-year-old and a 14-year-old girls at home doing school online, and their parents were back to work. They invited boys they thought were 14 to their front yard. 3 men came, raped, videoed, and exploited that. Today they're safe, but this is a problem that is stalking our children. It is a carnage of the innocent. When COVID hit, I had a mom running with her 4 kids, hiding under a bridge and banging on my door to get away from a husband with a gun. Risk just escalated. Now, I am not Chicken Little saying the sky's falling, because if that's the only message I had to give you, I would just stay home and play with my grandbabies. I'm here to tell you that what we do and what anti-trafficking organizations try to do is to bring hope, and it really works. I could tell you thousands of stories with happy endings, and that is what keeps me going. In Grand Rapids, Michigan, this year, we got a call of a 3-week-old baby that had been given, sold, given away, now rescued. I want to share with you some of the details of the human trafficking world. And, you know, decades ago, we were doing international anti-trafficking for, I've been involved in anti-risk for 4 decades as an adult. When I came home from boarding school in the Himalaya Mountains to college, I met my husband, who got his PhD at Michigan State in International Development, and we moved back overseas. And so the oldest programs of Women at Risk International began at my kitchen table, with my children playing on the floor with the children of a wounded woman, while I rocked her in my arms and tried to figure out what to do and how to deal with this. But decades ago now, over a decade ago, I received a call in Grand Rapids, Michigan from Homeland Security. They were then coming to Grand Rapids 3 times a week because human trafficking was that bad in Grand Rapids, Michigan. They now have a full-time staff there just to deal with that. We had just rescued a 1-month-old, sold at 2 weeks old for $200, and they were looking for a 6-month-old pay-per-view live feed of an attack, a rape of a 6-month-old. Yes, we rescue babies as well. What I learned that day when they stepped into my life is that in the United States of America, this land of the free, we have a bigger internal domestic problem than the international problem. Internationally, the FBI estimates 17,500 people are brought to this nation, trafficked to this nation, and we are the 3rd highest destination country in the world, depending on which study you look at, after Japan and Australia. But within our own borders, 300,000 minors a year are at risk, according to statistics. These are American children, your granddaughter, your daughter, my granddaughter, my grandson, at risk. Americans with constitutional rights, 300,000 a year. Recently, I heard the FBI, the director of the FBI, say on national news that in 2019, they rescued 1,500 minors alone. The Center for Missing and Exploited Children reported from 2019 to 2020 a 94.36 increase in calls. One of these stories in the War family is a child that was being sold by her father to politicians in Oklahoma. The mother ran with her to a safe house, and that's how she came into our life. I found out she was making sugar scrubs. I didn't even know what a sugar scrub was. It has to do with makeup. And she was making them to put herself through high school. That's my kind of kid. She was going to get herself and put herself together and get through high school on her own. So that's when we got a high-end spa company to give her a recipe, and we began selling that for her. today she's happily married and a mommy and in a wonderful, safe place. I want you as a listener to hear a couple things from me, and if you don't remember anything else I say, I want you to remember these two things. Number one, over 90% of all traffickers are known to their victim. This is not kidnapping. That is 3%. That means this is somebody your child thinks they know. If you go to our website, warinternational.org, O-R-G, and go to the media section, there's an interview there with Homeland Security, a woman, and she talks about the danger of us teaching our children stranger danger and only teaching them to be afraid of strangers. Over 90% of traffickers are known to the victim. When those little 13 and 14-year-olds thought they were inviting 14-year-olds to their front yard, they thought they knew them. And that's where the exploitation happens. Over 90% of it starts online. The most dangerous place is in your home computer. The second statistic I want you to remember is that a UN study showed that 60% of human traffickers are women. This is not a male versus female problem, in my opinion. Yes, the demand side is men, but the person doing the force, coercion, and fraud, the abuse, the slave owner, the person who's forcing this person into this situation is often a woman. In fact, the newest trend in the United States of America is cool girls at school. 15, 16-year-old or cheerleaders inviting your 9 to 10, 12-year-old to go to a party they cannot drive themselves home from, and where they're exploited and manipulated, and it spirals into trafficking. Shauna Newell, look it up on the news, a 14-year-old went to a sleepover and was sold for $300,000 to many people. We began teaching the civilian first responder training after Homeland Security came into my life, and I realized that we have a big problem in our own borders in the land of the free. We started teaching an 8-hour training day, which we do all over the United States, and we actually, 3 of the keynote sessions are available on our website. But we teach the 15 demographics. We've identified 15 things that draw the eye of a trafficker to your community. So Grand Rapids, Michigan has 12 of them. Michigan has 13 of them. When I'm speaking at the Pentagon, I give them their demographics. When I'm in Oklahoma, I give them their demographics. So if you look at those 15 demographics, you can see Midland probably has 12 of the 15 demographics. We teach those. We teach the 22 lures, the 21 signs, and then we bring in survivors to tell their story. And we want to empower all of us to know the signs. What is it? Is it when you see it? What do you do? What do you not do? We're licensed in all 50 states to do continuing ed credit, CEUs or CMEs, for medical professionals, and we've taught that all over. We've taught at military bases. I was supposed to be in Germany teaching there, but because of COVID, we have delayed it. Whether it's Department of Transportation, whether it's Fortune 500 companies. I've taught to 4- and 5-star hotels, totally different lists for them. And so how do you know this in your community, and how do you respond in the land of the free? I want to share a story with you from a faraway land, but she really represents the point of what we do at Women at Risk and what all of us need to do. Her real name is Sweetie. One of our partners in India, we rent a room in a red light district in a brothel area. where we have our own quiet, we pay the rent, and so they leave us alone, and women can, if they have a customer that is they're afraid of, they can get away from them and come to that room and have tea or counseling or just a private place. There we met Sweetie's mom. Sweetie's mom was a minor. She was a forced teen, underage minor who had had a baby. For some reason, now all children in the red light district are at risk. I have literally been on outreach where I have seen babies under the table that I'm sitting at with their eyes rolling back in their head because the mother has drugged the baby so she can take her to work to keep her eye on her. So all babies are at risk in the red light district, but why this little girl named Sweetie took the ire of the madam, the pimp, the trafficker, and the minute this baby was born, the owner, the madam, put her in a cardboard box and would not let the mother hold her. And every time that baby cried, they beat her black and blue. My partner sent me this picture because, you know, babies have a way of crawling out of boxes finally. So at 10 months old, they tied her to a pole. And they sent me this picture and asked me to share it with people because it's so outrageous. And at first I said, no, it's too, too harsh. But you know, our partners on the ground are the boss. They are the ones living there, running the programs. They are the ones that know their own culture and are sensitive to their culture. So I told them, all right, let's think about this for a week. And during that week, I got pictures of my grandkids. And you know, they change every time I see them. And I thought, there's no way you will know Sweetie today, who's now 10, from her 10-month-old picture. So we sent this picture out to the War family and begged people to think about this and to just get involved and to make a difference in their community. And it lit a fire in the War family because there's no question whether or not a 10-month-old, a newborn baby, should be treated this way. I began visiting every year and building a relationship with the madam, who I could speak her language because I had grown up on that continent, and so built a relationship with her, and in the process of that learned that the real trafficker was not the madam. The real trafficker was a corrupt government official. We could not kidnap her because that made us a kidnapper. I could not buy her. That would make me a trafficker. Trust me, I would have if I could have. We could not do a police raid because we knew that that child would disappear because the real owner was a government official who came every week to collect his trafficking dues and sexual favors. So it took us 5 years. But today, Sweetie is in the home of an American woman married to an Indian man, being raised. She's a smart little girl. She speaks English fluently, and she's happy, and she's flourishing. However her story ends, I share that story with you because she, to me, is an icon of what we stand for. When I see a 22 or a 32 or an 18-year-old boy or girl standing on a street corner selling themselves, supposedly, I know that there was once a child in there who nobody heard their cry. That was a child, and we missed the silent scream. We missed the cry of their heart. I have been in this for a long time, and I have yet to meet one who says, Becky, this is what I want to do with my life. Get over it. If I met her, I'd say, okay, it looks like you have a black eye and need stitches. Can I be your friend? Can I take you to the hospital? Can I pay for your stitches? Can I pick your kids up on the way? Because our goal is to make an unconditional, non-sectarian, unjudgmental circle of protection around wounded women. And we do have 3 programs for men as well, but obviously women are exponentially more at risk. If they're children, we're pulling them into our preventative programs. This is a cry from the heart of a mother, from me to you, to circle your cradle, to circle those you love, to get your eyes open, to lift your antenna up. And we want to give you many ways to make a difference in your own community. You know, I did a quick little study of this area here in Michigan, just right around this area. And the state of Michigan, the FBI taught me how to go to a very disgusting website. There are many, many, many of them. But on this one website, Grand Rapids, Michigan has 36 brothels in Grand Rapids. That doesn't even count the suburbs around Grand Rapids that are disguised as something else. Michigan as a whole has 303. Florida has 1,720. California has 7,969. South Dakota has 29. Flint has 6. Grand Rapids has 36, Bay City has 2, Saginaw has 4, Lansing has 11. This is just a little picture for you of the fact that this problem is right here in our neighborhood. Now, in those cases, mostly those would be international women brought here, and a lot of the human trafficking that we deal with of Americans is happening in schools. We have rescued children who were sold by their parents to hunters in Michigan, children who were sold by their mom and she hunted at churches and got close to their nurseries. We have dealt with girls who have been scammed by what we call a savant trafficker, which is a fake boyfriend. So on a Friday at 4 o'clock, true story, our phones go to voicemail at 5. We got a call from a brother on the East Coast. His sister was wooed by a savant trafficker, a boyfriend who was no real boyfriend, and he took her to Tennessee. There she happened to hear one of our survivors speak. When they got there, he said, "Now, here's how you're gonna pay for all that expensive stuff I bought you." And she's like, "What? I thought you loved me." He's like, "Yes, I do, but someone has to pay for this. So here's your quota. Do it or I'll break your ribs." So she went to this survivor who was speaking, who gave her our number, gave it to the brother. So at 4 o'clock on a Friday, we got a call. By Saturday, Homeland Security had rescued her, and by Sunday, she was in a treatment program. It's not rocket science, guys. It's common sense, which is highly uncommon. We had a mother attend our 8-hour civilian first responder training, and a year later, her daughter was trafficked. And we were able to make a phone call to the FBI, and she was reunited with her family, picked up in a sting and reunited. Women at Risk fights for 3 things. We fight for generational change. We fight for dignity, restore dignity that is inherently these people's that has been denied them, and we fight for you. I'd like to show you a little video called "This Means War." I'm Rebecca Mcdonald. I'm the president and founder of Women at Risk International, which is an organization in 55 countries, and we deal with 15 different risk issues, but we're most known for our fight against human trafficking.
If one of us is slaved, then none of us are free.
There's no greater joy than seeing a man, woman, or child rescued, restored, and empowered to dream. That's what we want for our babies. That's what we do with our own children. And that's our commitment as an organization, to walk beside whoever is brought into our pathway and help them dream.
It's really just important for people to become involved in some way. It doesn't have to be something big, but every effort matters. Every effort counts. The victims of human trafficking, their voices have been silenced. They don't have a voice. And so they need us to be a voice for them, to fight for their freedom.
There's no place that is off limits, no age or race that is off limits. It is everywhere.
My name is Jen, and this means war.
My name is Angel, and this means war.
My name is Lauren, and this means war.
My name is Joe, and this means war.
Who I am doesn't matter. This means war. My goal is to share the 3 different things that we fight for and help you find your place in those areas. First of all, we fight for generational change. So let me give you an example. It is a wonderful thing when you rescue a human being, man, woman, or child, and you see them flourish and you see them put their lives back together. But when you see generational change, when you see the grandmother, the mother, and the granddaughter all reunited and headed in another direction, then you know you've made systemic change. And I have the luxury of hindsight because I've been at this for, 30-some years. I can look back and sit at a banquet that we hold with 200 to 300 rescued women and see 3 generations there. That is what drives me on. And so I could tell you so many wonderful stories. A little boy came to us. His mother was a minor and she was a slave, and she could no longer protect him from the red light district, the pedophile red light district. So she brought him to our safe house, our orphanage, and we raised him. 2 years ago, he graduated as an engineer with a scholarship, and he's raising his siblings. He actually made a bracelet, a kind of a unisex bracelet that we call the LA bracelet. His name is LA, L-A-A. And he did that in college to help pay for, pen money, spending money and stuff. It wasn't that he wanted to make jewelry, but it was a way for him to make a living in addition to the scholarship. But today he is raising his siblings so they will never know the horror that his mother knew. We met a woman in the red light district in Thailand years ago, and she was working 3 jobs and giving all the money to her family, and they were telling her that she had to go sell herself. And she kept saying no, so they finally just took her and left her to be broken. When we came into her life, we were just, job recruiting. We were not saying to them, look, your life is a mess, you're gonna die of AIDS, run! Who am I? In my mommy clothes or my mommy minivan to look down my mommy nose and tell them how bad their life is. We never do that. We're just saying, hey, if you ever want to make a living in a different way, call the number on the back of this card. So when we met her, we offered her a way out. She immediately jumped at it and became one of our best jewelers. And today, she and the mother, the grandmother, and the granddaughter sit at a table, and she is attending college. Years ago, I met a woman at a conference. I was invited to a conference in London, and there were all kinds of, lawyers and UN and Hollywood celebrities and Queen Noor, Aung San Suu Kyi, and I went because of the Nobel laureates that were there. And I met a woman there who was being sold from a window in Amsterdam. She had been scammed and taken to that window. One of her customers helped her escape her trafficker, but then the Dutch government would not allow her to do anything but prostitution, which is a legal job there. And she said in this conference, all I want is to have a normal job. So it's a very long story how we got her out of that situation. But today she's married. I got to go to her wedding in Amsterdam and be there as family. She lives in America. She has a precious little baby, and she's starting her own nonprofit. We've graduated doctors and lawyers and school teachers and goat herders and cosmetologists and cake decorators and candlestick makers and bakers, whatever their dream is. I said to a woman in Grand Rapids that we rescued, I said, if you could wave a magic wand and do whatever you wanted, what would you do? And she recoiled from me and said, I've learned never to dream. And I said, start now. So just as you do with your own children, where you help them walk that journey and help them learn to fly their wings. They may be 32, but they've never had the luxury of choice, and helping them find that and looking back, the good news is if you stick with it, it works and people's lives are changed, and that brings generational change. One of the things that we've learned is that all of our programs, the person we're helping has some skin in the game. We don't just give them a sewing machine and teach them to sew, which, by the way, we have many sewing academies. They have to sew. They have to sell their stuff. The goat, they have to milk the goat. They have to sell the milk. There has to be some skin in the game. So when they come into our safe houses, if we're making jewelry with them, they have to learn how to take that $25 and turn it into $80, $100. And so, you know, if I were Warren Buffett and I was giving to something, sometimes you just have to give to a car or stitches or whatever. But what thrills me about these micro enterprise, social enterprise programs that we do is that there's skin in the game. They deserve to be paid for the work of their hands. It is not a handout, it is a hand up. And when someone gives $25 to a domestic abuse shelter, bless you, you're helping a woman running from death. But if it's a micro enterprise, social enterprise domestic abuse shelter, we are teaching her, we're not just patting her on the back, fixing her, patching her up and sending her back. We are teaching her how to support herself and how to take that and turn that into something more than that. So generational change is so key, and it's what keeps me going. I was in one of our safe houses one night when 4 little girls were brought in by the police in a Central American country. I was swinging upside down on the swing set with the little girl who was 5. She had been chained to a wall for 11 months, sold to whoever came to the front door. What do you think she thinks she can do? She can't even boil water. You cannot rescue a woman, pat her on her head, say, nasty little life you had there, honey buns, go do something nice, and not give her a way to support herself, which is why the second thing we do is fight for dignity. The dignity that comes from giving them real skills while they rebuild their life and dream the dream and get to do the things they want to do. One study in Cambodia showed that 90% of the women that get picked up in a police raid and sent home without job training get resold. Rescue is not the fancy, sexy end. It's the beginning of a journey. It is not a destination, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, and you're out. It's a journey with them to walk that journey of healing and let them find a way to support themselves immediately while you give them wraparound services. A few years ago, we received an award from the World Trade Center, and we had to check numbers. Now, as a founder and an entrepreneur, I never look back. I'm always looking forward, but I had to go back and count some numbers. And I learned that in the last 7 years, we have sold $9 million in the work of their hands, in their jewelry and their sewn items and all of their beautiful international products. That is not about $9 million. That's about tens of millions of hours in a safe place with wraparound services. Nobody can take that away from them. No matter what tomorrow holds, they have a skill that they can use while they put their life back together. One of the women that I met in her darkest hour in Michigan, when I heard her story, I knew she wanted out. I rolled a bracelet off my arm onto her arm, and I said, you know, at that point I had never rescued in America, only internationally, and I said, I can't promise you the moon. I don't know what this looks like, I can't promise my 4 kids the moon, right? But come and I will be your sister. I will help you. We will figure this out together. Just days later, she came. And we sat and we tried to write a resume for a woman who had only known the abuse of a strip club and rape in the military. There was nothing honest I could say. I finally looked at her and I said, do you want to make jewelry? And she's like, what? I'm like, well, we have a staff kitchen in our global headquarters. I said, I will kick everybody out. They can eat at their desk, and we will turn it into the U.S. Training Center, which today is upstairs, and it's a beautiful, wonderful place, and it's my favorite place in the whole building. And we taught her to make jewelry. Today, she's an artist, and she paints murals for the city of Grand Rapids as well. But one day when I was speaking at Quantico to the Marine General's annual conference, their wives were shopping the jewelry made by our women. And there was a necklace there made by Dee. And we hadn't learned to say, well, you can order it and we'll mail it to you. You know, we only had 2 and 4 women wanted it. And they were fighting over it. And all our pearls are real. And in fact, Dee made this necklace I'm wearing right here with all pearls and crystals. And when I got back to Grand Rapids, I went upstairs and I plopped down in front of her and I said, girlfriend, the most powerful men in the Marine Corps' wives are fighting over the work of your hands. And she jumped up, ran around that table and sang a song and could go home and tell her children, your mama is an artisan. That is authentic dignity. I can tell somebody you have worth and dignity till I'm blue in the face. But when they make something and people buy the work of their hands, that is a hand up. And so it is precious to me. It's also precious to me that our women work with so many pearls. I tell them, you're like the pearl. That little clam just sitting in the bottom of the ocean minding its own business, and along comes an unfair attack. And it has 2 choices. It can fight it and be a mutant, or it can wrap it in layers and layers and layers of beauty. And so too in life, when we are attacked fairly or unfairly, we have 2 choices. We can fight it and be a mutant forever, and we all know people like that. Or we can wrap it in layers of beauty and dignity and do for somebody else what nobody did for us. And today that's exactly what Dee is doing. She's turned around and she's providing that safe place for others. Finally, we fight for you. We want you to understand your circle of influence and make a difference in your circle of influence. When I first founded Women at Risk and pulled it out of my husband's international nonprofit and created a board and all of that, I wanted to give people a banquet of ways to be involved, not just pray and give money, that's important, but I wanted to give them significant ongoing ways where they could make a difference, because this generation wants to have a significant involvement. So if you go to our website, you can see that there are many ways that you can get involved. We need jewelers that help me design jewelry. They travel with me around the world. We had at one time 700 volunteers just in our headquarters alone. But my passion is to give you eyes to see and a heart to encircle those you love and be that safe place for them. When you do that, you are jumping in the trenches with us. There is a war, and it is out to destroy our children as young as 6 days old. We heard testimony of a 6-day-old with the umbilical cord still attached being attacked in this country. You declare war on risk when you jump in the trenches. So I think my earrings are $12. So when you spend $10 on the work of someone's hand in some social enterprise out there, fair trade, in our case, $10 is what it takes to keep a woman in a safe house for a day overseas in a country where a man might make $1 a day and she's getting $10 that day. And so you're making a real impact when you step into the lives of your own. And there's something unique about this generation, the millennials and the Zs, my sons and daughter. This generation is born with a social justice gene in their DNA. I don't know if you've noticed, and you know what? It's universal. It's all over the world. I can be in a university in Morocco, in a Muslim university there, and this generation cares about orphans and widows and homeless. And so my heart just rejoices because I know that when these 20, 30-year-olds and even those in college and high school now, when they get into positions of leadership, they are going to address these issues systemically throughout our nation and in our own communities. Meanwhile, we have a job to do. What is your story? What passion do you have? What do you bring to the table? How can you be a circle of protection to those you love? When we teach in our 8-hour day, or if I'm teaching medical professionals, I teach it with the acronym ACT, A-C-T. A means assess. How do you know if what you're seeing? So we teach the 21 lures, the 22 signs, and the 15 demographics. But how do you know, how can you assess if what's really happening is really human trafficking? And then the last is T, take action. And you will not make it from A to T without the C. And that is care. How you care for this individual. If you are not trauma informed, if you raise your eyebrow when they tell you their story, if you ask them, why were you out at that time of night, or why were you wearing those clothes, or whatever. I mean, it can be something so simple. It can be a gasp. You as a parent, if you're listening, you know you're safe. You know you're safe. But if your child thinks that if they come to you with your worst nightmare, that you're going to go, their perception becomes your reality. We have got to get unshockable. We have got to be a safe place. And my passion is to leave a legacy of safe places. If it takes every last breath in my body, ever since my playmate was silenced forever, to give voice to the silence and to teach people how to assess, how to care, trauma-informed and compassionately, non-judgmentally, and then how to take action. And those are the things that we wish to do for you. You have the power of rescue. A little girl told her mom about a little girl that cried in the girls' bathroom every day at lunch at school. That's how the school counselor found out about it. And that's what started a journey for the little girl who was being sold to Michigan hunters. It wasn't a cop, it wasn't a social worker, it wasn't a CEO of a nonprofit, it was a child. Civilians have, because you don't carry a badge and a gun, they're not afraid of you. They can tell you things, and you can help set them free. President JFK, years ago, speaking about another kind of slavery, said this: "We face a moral crisis. It's time to act, above all, in our daily lives. We preach freedom around the world and cherish it at home, but in the land of the free, if the rights of even one are diminished, then all are threatened. Those who do nothing invite shame. Those who act boldly are recognizing right." We got rid of legal slavery a long time ago. We did not get rid of racism, which is an emotional slavery, in my opinion. But we now have an illegal slavery that has more victims than all the slaves ever. Now is the time to act, to use your voice boldly. and to use whatever skills. We have doctors who do pro bono stitches. We have tattoo artists who cover up the horrible branding that traffickers do to their victims so that they can scan them in and scan them out like a piece of meat with a barcode. We have dentists that do pro bono dental work. We have artists, we have English teachers, we have all kinds of people who help. There is a clear and present danger in our nation. There's an imminent threat to our future. It's our children. It's our children that are being focused on. Albert Einstein said the world will not be destroyed by evil people, but by good people who see evil and do nothing. Michigan, you're good people. Families, you're good people. We need to look into our own communities and get our eyes open and learn and join task force or anti-trafficking organizations, nonprofits. Women at Risk International wants to be a resource for you. You can write us at info@warinternational.org. You can go on our website. When COVID hit, we went into major media mode, and there is a section there called Breaking Chains, where we talk about all kinds of different things. How we involve men, how to protect your children in cybersecurity, programs in Africa, programs, our U.S. training center there that we have upstairs. And so you can just find a lot of resources there. You can go to our War Chest Boutique and see the beautiful products that women make, men and women, mostly women, no children. They're in school around the world. 48 of our 58 countries produce product that we import. If they're children, they're in school, there's no product. If it's, goats, we're not importing goat milk. But you can see that our preventative programs are there, and you can study the world of war and get ideas. But we're here to help you be a circle of protection to those you love. That is our passion. If you have any questions, please write us. I was that weirdo mom that loved it when my kids would ask the same question 10 times. And I would give them 10 different answers that were all right. And so there are no questions that are off limits. And we just want to give you ways to get involved from your walk of life, from the sanctity of your home, in your neighborhood, your industry, and help you lift your eyes to those around you. I want to thank MCTV because my passion is to be the voice of the silenced. And what they've done is lend their voice to the silenced. Whenever you silence a wounded person, you give the perpetrator power. And so we are here to end the silence and be the voice of the silenced and help them find their voice. So thank you for joining us. You can go to our War Facebook. You can go to my Facebook, which is War President Rebecca Mcdonald, and you can go on our website, and we have many resources there for you. But I just want to thank you for joining us. I want to thank you for your courage and listening to a hard subject, and I want to encourage you to look into your own circle of influence and ask yourself, how can you set the captive free? How can you and those in your life who care about these issues come together to make America truly the land of the free? Thank you.